All right, let's do this. Today we're diving deep into Gary Vaynerchuk's brain. Well, more specifically, his take on social media marketing, no holds barred. We're breaking down this awesome YouTube video from Think Media where Gary just spills it. And believe me, he does not sugarcoat anything. Expect the unexpected. Some controversy, maybe, but definitely a ton of stuff you can actually use.
Yeah, right off the bat, Gary kind of flips the script on how we usually think about marketing. He doesn't just say organic social media is important. He's like, it's the king, baby.
Yeah.
Even above podcasts, which is wild, right? He sees podcasts as more of a source for clips, little snippets for social, not the main attraction themselves.
Whoa, that's like saying the podcast is cool, but the real magic happens when you chop it up and sprinkle it all over your socials. Is that how we're all thinking about content now? Honestly, I wasn't before this.
Definitely a shift, right?
Yeah.
Makes you ask yourself, is every single thing I'm putting out there
Yeah.
designed for how people actually consume stuff today?
Yeah.
Is it bite-sized, grabby, shareable? If not, you're kind of missing the point.
Gotta be thinking multi-purpose from the get-go. But then Gary also goes on about understanding platforms and culture. What's he getting at there?
So by platforms, he means really knowing the ins and outs of each one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Each social media platform has its own quirks, its own little dances. What are those? What makes the algorithm tick? Are you using all the bells and whistles each one has?
And this isn't a one-time thing, is it? I mean, these platforms change faster than, I don't know, a chameleon in a disco.
Totally. Got to be a lifelong student, always keeping up. But then you've got the culture piece, which is huge too. Gary's all about being plugged into what's hot, what people are talking about, the zeitgeist, riding that wave of what's relevant, right now.
Like that asphalt business owner he mentions, right? Absolutely killing it on TikTok. Asphalt on TikTok, who knew? But he understood the platform, the humor, boom, success.
It shows you don't got to be some high-tech company to use tech, But showing up's not enough. You got to adapt.
Okay, real talk. Are you really on the right platforms for your people? And are you speaking their language? Or are you, shouting into the void in some dialect nobody gets?
Tough love, but it's the truth. And that brings us to another Garyism, kind of blew my mind. The shift from social graph to interest graph.
Now things are getting juicy. He's saying a massive following isn't enough anymore. It's about your content lining up with people's passions, even if they don't follow you yet.
Massive implications here.
Right.
Even those accounts with millions, they can't just coast. Think about it. Is what you're making so good, he grabs someone who's never even heard of you.
You gotta be like the cool kid at school everyone wants to sit with at lunch, even if they just met you. No more coasting on last year's popularity, right?
Exactly. Which brings us back to understanding those interests, right? What are your audience's jam? What keeps them up at night? What makes them hit that share button?
If you don't know, you're throwing darts in the dark hoping you hit something. Not a good strategy.
Nope. And that leads right into platform choice. Gary's not about that one-size-fits-all advice. He says, know your audience. B2B. LinkedIn's your jam. Selling to Gen Z. You better be on TikTok.
Thank goodness. No more pressure to be everywhere at once. If you're on a platform your people aren't using, that's just wasted effort.
Truth. Now, even though Gary's big on platforms, algorithms, all that, he makes one thing clear. Content's still king. But not just A/B content.
Yeah, he gets the whole churn it out like a machine pressure, but then drops the truth bomb. Quality over quantity always. It's tempting to just pump stuff out, but if it's no good, it's actually hurting you.
Imagine a buffet with a million dishes, but every single one is bland. You wouldn't be rushing back for seconds.
Yeah.
Your content should be the opposite. Flavorful, engaging, the kind of stuff you remember.
All right, pop quiz. Are you really putting in the effort to make your stuff top-notch? Does it have that wow factor, or is it just getting lost in the scroll? Because if it doesn't stand out, it might as well not exist.
And to stand out, Gary throws out this idea of cohorts with teeth. It's next-level targeting. We're not talking broad demographics anymore.
He uses this example, young yoga moms in Kansas City versus professional moms in NYC having their first kid at 40. Same basic demo, but totally different worlds in terms of what they care about, how they consume content.
It's about those micro differences, the nuances that make each group unique. If you can tailor your message that specifically, you've got their attention.
It's like speaking their secret language. No more generic, one-size-fits-all platitudes.
Right. And this ties back to that interest graph we talked about. Super specific content aimed at specific interests. You're speaking the algorithm's love language.
Okay, let's take YouTube Shorts. Gary sees huge potential there, but maybe not for the obvious reasons.
Yeah, he points out shorts have this secret weapon. YouTube's a search engine powerhouse. This means your shorts can keep working for you months, even years down the line. Not like other platforms where it's all about that initial burst, then poof.
Like the difference between a firework and a slow-burning fire, huh? One's flashy, the other gives you steady heat and light.
Exactly. So when you're making those shorts, are you thinking searchable? Using keywords people will be typing in months from now.
This is where knowing how the platform works really matters. You're not just playing the short game, you're setting yourself up to win in the long run.
Now, something a lot of people get hung up on, being themselves on camera. Gary's advice is refreshing, though. Forget that polished perfection. Just document yourself. Capture your real self, your process, like your own little reality show.
He's saying let people peek behind the curtain, show them the mess-ups, the real you. That's what they connect with. No more hiding behind some perfectly curated facade.
It's about being vulnerable, connecting as humans. People crave that authenticity, that realness. They want to see the person behind the brand. Think about it. Who do you trust more? Someone who seems perfect or someone who shows their flaws?
Goes back to building that trust, that credibility we talked about earlier. When you let your guard down, you're saying, hey, I'm just like you, not perfect, but I'm trying. People respect that.
Totally. Makes you relatable, approachable, human. That's magnetic. But here's a curveball. We talk a lot about consistency, but even Gary, Mr. Content Machine himself,
Yeah.
he admits he took a multi-year break.
Whoa, can you imagine? Almost revolutionary coming from him, but also so reassuring because we all hit those walls sometimes.
The takeaway is you don't got to be a robot churning out content 24/7. Find a pace you can sustain. Honor your needs. You can't pour from an empty cup.
He uses this awesome analogy. Content's like oxygen for your brand. You need it to survive, to
Yeah.
stay visible, but you got to remember to breathe yourself.
It's about balance, which a lot of us, especially in that whole hustle mindset,
Yeah.
we need permission to rest and recharge, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so easy to burn out when you're feeling like you got to be on all the time. But Gary's story shows us even stepping back can be good for you in the long run.
Absolutely, like hitting the reset button, coming back with fresh eyes. But let's be real, one of the things that can really knock you off course is criticism.
Ugh. Yeah, and Gary doesn't mess around here, his advice. I love myself too much to give a expletive about you. Strong words, but there's something deeper there.
It's about building that unshakable confidence in yourself. So much of what holds us back is fear. Fear of judgment, of failing, of not being good enough. But Gary's like, screw that. Believe in yourself. Let the haters hate.
Such a powerful shift, right? Focus on your path, your vision. Don't let the noise drown you out. Easier said than done, but so crucial.
For real, it's like putting on those noise-canceling headphones and just zoning in on what matters. And you know what? You can actually choose who you let into your online world, too.
Boom. Unfollow, mute. Block. You have the power to create your own little digital bubble. Surround yourself with accounts that inspire you, lift you up, motivate you.
Speaking of inspiration, Gary's all about embracing AI, not fearing it.
He sees it as this amazing opportunity to, automate all those tasks we hate, freeing up our time and brains for the stuff we're good at, the creative thinking, the strategy.
That's like having a super efficient assistant who handles all the boring stuff so you can focus on the big picture. So many possibilities.
And it's important to remember AI isn't about replacing humans. It's about, enhancing what we can do. Think about the printing press, the internet. AI is just another tool in the toolbox, helping us do things better.
Exactly. Working smarter, not harder. But here's the thing. Gary's urging us not to repeat the mistakes we maybe made with social media or the internet itself.
Oh, totally. He's saying, don't be late to the party. Don't cling to the old ways while the world's changing. Remember those people who refused to ditch their BlackBerries when iPhones came out? Don't be that person with AI.
Good point. So easy to get comfy, but tech moves fast. Adapt or get left behind.
So what's your first step with AI going to be? Dip your toes in, take a course, play around with those free tools out there.
Just do something. Even a tiny step beats standing still. But okay, let's get into some of Gary's more tactical stuff. He's obsessed with thumbnails, for example.
Oh, he calls them the gateway drug to your content. Says the best YouTubers spend more time and money on them than most people can even imagine.
It makes sense, though, right? It's the first impression, what grabs you when you're scrolling through a million things. Like the cover of a book, if it doesn't intrigue you, you're not opening it.
Exactly. And Gary emphasizes not just the visuals, but also making sure you deliver on what the thumbnail promises within the first few seconds of the video.
Otherwise, you're just clickbaiting people, and that's a fast track to losing their trust. Don't be that person. Be upfront, be real, deliver on your promises.
Another thing people often overlook, captions. Gary says most folks are just phoning it in, throwing a few words down without much thought.
The captions are prime real estate. You can add so much personality, context, even humor.
Gary's all about writing, like 3 or 4 detailed sentences that really enhance the video or picture. It's more space to connect with your audience.
It's like the director's commentary on a DVD, giving you that extra layer of insight. And if you're not comfy on camera, you can lean on strong visuals and killer captions on platforms like Instagram and still build a following.
Totally. Play to your strengths, use the tools in creative ways. Don't let fear hold you back.
All right, branding time. Gary's a huge EAE believer in building a strong personal brand, and he drops this truth bomb. Selling is what you do when you don't know how to build a brand. Ouch, but true.
Think about brands like Nike, Apple, Coca-Cola. They don't have to constantly push their stuff. People are already drawn to them because of what they represent.
It's that emotional connection, that sense of trust and loyalty.
And get this, one of the main platforms Gary recommends for branding, LinkedIn.
He loves LinkedIn, says everyone should be posting at least 3 times a day there.
A lot of people still see LinkedIn as just a job hunting site, but it's so much more. Incredible organic reach, highly engaged users.
And let's be real, the people on LinkedIn often have the money, right? They're business owners, decision makers, influencers.
It's a gold mine for building relationships, becoming the go-to expert in your field, attracting those high-value clients. Don't underestimate the power of LinkedIn.
Now, for anyone looking to make money from their content, Gary's all about diversification.
He says don't just rely on brand deals, although those can be a great start.
Explore other avenues like creating your own products, offering premium content, building subscription services.
Think about it. What are the different ways you can bring value and get paid for it?
The key is multiple income streams, so you're not putting all your eggs in one basket.
And he's big on being passionate about what you're selling, too. If you don't genuinely believe in it, it's going to show.
People can smell a phony a mile away. Authenticity is everything.
Building a team is another thing creators often struggle with.
And Gary's advice is refreshingly simple. Hire people to do the things you hate or suck at. You don't have to be a one-person show.
There are so many resources to find talent these days, from freelance platforms to professional networks.
He also challenges that whole make money just to spend it on fancy stuff mentality.
He says a lot of businesses don't grow because people are too focused on, like, extracting money to fund a lavish lifestyle instead of reinvesting it back into the business.
It's like that athlete who gets a big contract and blows it all on cars and parties, instead of investing in their training and development.
They might enjoy the short-term fun, but they're not reaching their full potential.
Same with building a brand or a business. If you're truly passionate and you put in the work, the money will come.
Brings us back to one of the core themes here, action.
Gary's all about taking action. Don't just listen to this and do nothing. He wants you to get out there, experiment, try things, see what works.
Social media is this incredible free platform with the potential to reach billions.
Unprecedented opportunity. But it takes effort, dedication, and that willingness to learn and adapt.
And that brings us back to one of the core themes of this entire conversation, self-awareness.
Gary challenges creators to understand their strengths and weaknesses, to choose platforms that align with their audience, and create content that reflects their authentic selves.
It's about being honest with yourself, being willing to experiment, to fail, to learn along the way.
He also encourages creators to be kind to themselves, celebrate the wins, and not get discouraged by setbacks.
It's all about having that growth mindset, that commitment to always getting better.
Okay, so we're in the home stretch of this Gary V deep dive. He brought up this idea of documenting versus creating content, which really got me thinking.
Yeah, he noticed this difference between, like, those creators who treat every video like a Hollywood movie, all planned out, super polished, versus those who just capture their life as it happens, more like a reality show.
It's like some people are meant for the big screen, others shine in those candid behind-the-scenes moments. Not about being better, it's knowing yourself, right?
Totally. He used this analogy, SNL versus a feature film. One's improv, reacting on the fly, the other's all scripted and edited. Both can be awesome, but totally different approaches.
So, are you the performer who thrives under the studio lights? Or the one who draws people in with that raw, unfiltered realness? Neither's wrong, but knowing your style is key to making content that feels true to you.
Forcing yourself into a box that doesn't fit just feels awkward. Your audience picks up on that.
It's like wearing a suit that's 2 sizes too small. Everyone can tell you're uncomfortable.
Now, here's a trick Gary uses. Super smart. He actually makes certain content just to get feedback from his audience, like built-in market research.
He's not just talking AT people, he's having a conversation, using content to spark discussion and gather insights.
He pays attention to those comments, reactions, the questions people ask. It's a gold mine for figuring out what your audience cares about, their struggles, what they need.
Don't be afraid to ask those questions, run polls, create content that gets people talking. You might be surprised what you learn.
Yeah, it's a reminder that social media is not just a one-way street. It's about dialogue, building relationships, learning from each other.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Criticism can be brutal, especially when you're putting yourself out there online.
Gary's advice is blunt but effective. Get your self-esteem up. It's about that inner confidence, believing in yourself and your work.
Easy to get caught up in what others think, especially now. Everyone's got an opinion, but Gary's like, don't let that noise control you. Filter it out. Focus on what
He
matters.
even suggests unfollowing or muting accounts that bring you down. You control your online experience, surround yourself with positivity.
He gave this great tip. Before bed, search positivity on your socials. Follow a few accounts that inspire you. Simple way to start your day on a good note.
Small tweaks can make a big difference to your mindset. It's about being mindful of what you consume, who you let influence you.
And speaking of being mindful, Gary's been emphasizing this all along. Take action. Don't just absorb this. Let it spark
I
something.
want you to get out there, experiment, try things, put these ideas to work, see what happens.
What's the point of learning all this if you don't do anything with it, right? Social media is always changing. The only way to win is to adapt, to learn, to take those risks.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Gary Vaynerchuk's social media playbook, here's the challenge. What one thing will you change based on what you've heard today?
Could be something small, like spending more time on captions, or something big, like finally diving into AI. Big or small, what's that one step you can take to level up your social media game?
Because in today's world, your success online might depend on it. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep creating, keep experimenting, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible on social media.
And remember, the best way to learn is by doing. So get out there and make something awesome.